Welcome everyone to another open source video here, reporting live from the open source developer community. I am shocked that Red Hat and SuSE and Red Hat developers in that order, break each other's working on Binutils, like GNU, Binutils and GCC, and as a result, currently latest and greatest versions of Binutils and GCC that are praised in the media of like, hey, greatest releases ever and stuff, can't compile Firefox, ffmpeg, and a handful of other packages, especially those that derive code from ffmpeg. Because I was shocked today that updated Binutils, right, and now Firefox doesn't build anymore. Just what you would expect. I mean, yeah, recurring theme right 25. If you were wondering why I'm a little bit burnt out, sore, and depressed and disappointed by the whole stuff, this is why. And because this is an ongoing thing, right? I'm only documenting this here. I could also like keep my mouth shut, like I did for 25 years. But enough is really enough, right? And you would think also that the open source stuff would only better and better, but big mega corporations that spent 20 million previous video on forking each other's RPM distribution, like instead of pouring 20 million and making open source more amazing, you know, the only thing they can do is whine about each other's open sources and fork each other and spend more money on forking each other's forks. What I would expect is like, sure, I can understand like if stuff is not standard conform and so on, that eventually might break something, right? I can have some understanding for that, but the problem is the way, I mean, this is a very obscure thing. Yes, it's not really a standard thing because it's a GNU extension. So basically what they did is they broke their own freaking GNU extension that worked for 20 years. Pros. Working once with professionals, meet the GNU Free Software Foundation and stuff. So it fails here in FF, VPX, lib, AV codec, and x86, mess, ops, header, error, operand, type mismatch for SHR, shift, right. And when you Google this, of course, you find some bugzillers. So this freaking bug is actually freaking known since 2023, 0227. I only know this since yesterday, since I updated Binutils and rebuilt ORT2 for release. It's like, yay, some stuff fails, and Firefox. And you would expect, sure, you cannot expect at Mozilla, the slow-moving Mozilla Foundation, to use latest and greatest, and you would expect 6 months, 5.5 months later, that either it is fixed, it's taken care of, it's fixed in Firefox, like it's so everything is so out that until the latest release of GCC, the latest release of Binutils, the latest release of Firefox, the stuff is still not building. Also emergencies. Yeah. Big city life. Cheers. And so the issue is that someone from SuSE implemented stricter checking, like 20 or so years later, let's stricter check Binutils stuff, right? What could possibly go wrong? So the problem is that this indeed becomes negative, although one could also argue that is a GCC bug or implementation. So basically, the SuSE people patch some things like, hey, let's check it stricter because it doesn't make sense. And yet GCC admits it, and then the Red Hat GCC developers, no, we're not changing this because it is what it is. Although I arguably, sure, I could agree with the SuSE developer of like, hey, check it stricter. The problem is like maybe make it a warning and wait 12 months until everything's fixed or so. And the problem is also like, why are people like ourselves here those who most continuously integrate and most, like, sure, I understand Red Hat and RPM is a pile of burning garbage, which is why I went to Rock Linux and developed for 25 years or more free, open, and because 25 years of stuff was pretty close, right? Open source, but we don't publish all the stuff needed to build the CD and stuff, right? Anyway, I could agree with the SuSE developer, like, hey, checking stuff more strictly. So is it really necessary? I mean, assembler developer, like, so if you put the negative argument, yes, it does make the most sense and stuff. But the problem is GCC is also admitting it, right? So there's a Binutils. We are here many months later. There is since 23 Wait a second, why is this reported? Wait a second, this was here earlier. Yeah, so this bug was 23.02.27. So this is Bugzilla, which even from this apparently is GCC. And so there is some argument, also like there is no resolution, right? Like right now it's broken, like for, what did I say, 5.5 months or whatever. It's like for 2.5 years. And I would really expect, what I really don't like, is the quality. Apple says you get everything out of one hand, from one hand, hardware and software integrated. And with the GNU Free Software Foundation, they created a lot of this initial stuff. So GCC and Binutils are no longer purely developed by the Free Software Foundation. Nowadays, tens of thousands of volunteers, like senior on this channel, and people from Red Hat and SuSE work on this stuff. But you would still think in this GNU, they always say, but it's GNU, it's not Linux, it's GNU. It's our GNU stuff. It's like, yeah, but your GNU stuff is constantly freaking broken, right? And you would expect, I really would expect from, well, like high profile developers, like senior or whatever, senior open source developers, working on GNU Free Software Foundation, like to work a little bit more hand in hand and stuff, and like not leave the stuff broken, because what the Red Hat developer in GCC just says, like, yeah, it always, basically then arguing, is also, yeah, but does it look like a GCC bug? Binutils bug for not accepting, yeah, so like it's not a GCC bug, it's Binutils not accepting anymore, but like, yeah, it negative arguments for, like, because it's shift right, so shifting bits to right, and like you only like negative number, right? It's like a natural whatever. I'm so long out of university. That's like positive integer stuff. I mean, you shift stuff like if you shift negative, then you shift left, right? Sure, but so the problem is they can't even fix it easily, right? So the Red Hat GCC developers like, yeah, it's not a bug, and then even the argument, but CLang gets it right. It's like, yeah, but CLang is doing the GNU, it's our GNU extension, and Clang is doing, like, Clang is implementing our GNU extension wrong, because then the argument, there was like once, like, yeah, but Clang does it, I mean, Clang gets it right. But then the argument from the GCC developers like, yeah, but Clang is doing it wrong because assembler templates are supposed pure text substitution, and GCC just substitute text like it's the 80s, and Clang does parse assembly and does it right, but our GNU extension doesn't. Our GNU extension explicitly says it's a plain stupid plain text template replacement because it's the 80s calling, wanting their template assembler back. And then also other stuff like it's not like even a valid argument, like whatever, because then they say like, but hey, look, maybe like Clang can do it better, like maybe we can also do it better. It's like, no, that is wrong. It's like you, but we just get. And then also the argument, but we can't currently implement it better in GCC because our numeric representation, our internal representation does not encode what is the numeric range or signedness, right? Our internal encoding is always signed. It's like due. What argument is it? Like right now it sucks. Right now invalid code is generated that Binutils kinda rightfully doesn't accept anymore. And then the argument is like, yeah, but we can't easily fix it in GCC. It's like due, but right now it's freaking broken, right? For 5 months without a resolution. The problem is this patch. This is a patch here for Shift. So this is the whole thing we talk about, February 24th, 1 year after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. This date I will unfortunately remember forever. For shifts, but not ordinary rotates and other cases, when an immediate describes bit count position along negative operands and stuff. So the problem is, I thought like, hey, I just reverted, right? Like, yeah, YOLO, whatever, Red Hat and SuSE need to fight with each other. They can't even, like kids in the sandbox and stuff, can't get over there whose bug it is now. Like, I don't freaking care whose bug it is. My code that built for a decade doesn't build anymore. And this is everywhere, right? Everywhere on a daily basis, we need to deal with such bullshit, right? You update something, it breaks. And this is the level of software development in this day and age. And I thought like, yeah, I quickly revert it, but the problem is, as you see here, this doesn't revert, right? I mean, obviously all these tables, like also, how do you write an assembler in 2023 with such tables, right? This is shiny little in template op table. It's like, yeah, that is state-of-the-art assembler implementation in GNU land. I thought like, yeah, let's revert that because YOLO whatever, but of course it doesn't revert anymore, right? Because as you can imagine, every other patch after that also touched some stuff, so like 90%, although it's only from February of the last Binutils release, but yeah, like 90+% of the patch doesn't. Sure, I could manually go through this, but I'm not going. When Red Hat and SuSE don't get their shit together, I'm not going through this mess and revert like well, thank you very much. Absolutely crazy enough is adding to insult to this injury that glibc also breaks the world, right? I updated glibc or maybe data. Actually, our data I updated glibc the other day, and of course, not so of course, but by pure chance and luck it actually built. However, rebuilding everything yesterday for our Linux distribution release, I noticed quickly that the latest glibc release, again not knowing everything from one hand out of the Free Software Foundation and GNU, if you just build glibc, it actually breaks GCC, right? You build the latest glibc and it instantly breaks GCC. You can't build GCC anymore. Why? Because you could also argue rightfully deprecated and removed libcrypt. An old libcrypt is no longer built by default, which supplies also the crypt age, the crypt header. Like, yes, it is Stone Age pseudo-crypto and hashing and whatnot, and could actually check what precisely is in there. In user include crypt age of ultra-fast crypt implementation, UCF crypt, ultra-fast crypt implementation. Amazing, ultra-fast, what do we get here? Not really much crypt data of whatever, not even, I never use this stuff. Crypt R of thread safe data must be version of crypt, just like whatever. Point is, I have not checked, but so like GCC use it. I have not checked yesterday. So sure, you can currently enable it with enable crypt. I can understand all the reasoning, right? I'm not stupid. I understand like, hey, it's some old crap, but the thing is, maybe it's not, I've not checked in which standard it is. Maybe you should check in which standard it is. Info crypt. Encryption, decryption, libcrypto. Crypto, is it even crypt age? Crypt, yeah, so this is glibc. Do they list which freaking standard? Also probably, which term do I know this? I know this is secure shows. Why is this so strange with caps lock? Whatever happened here. Do they have a standard? Is it here? Xopen, crypt, glibc version, additional encryption version, sold, whatever. Here's some MD5, ID, SHA. My point is, it breaks GCC, right? I don't really care so much. It was there probably for as long as I use Linux. I could actually log into a server and have, it's a Rock Linux 2.0 server for fun still running. My point, I understand it's some old garbage crypto stuff and whatnot, but it was there for probably over 20 years. I could check that, but whatever. But my point is also, it breaks GCC. Sure, you couldn't, because then I need to, what is the issue? The issue is, I mean, in the long term, they want to remove it fully. Right now it's deprecated and you could still, but I mean, I had to Google it, right? I wasted again, and basically every day I waste my time with such, and multiplied with 2030 Linux distributions and 10,000 developers. Imagine how much time is wasted on bullshit, and instead of doing something amazing, right? Why don't we have to use the desktop Linux? Because we break each other's Binutils, GCC and glibc, and glibc breaks GCC again. And sure, currently you can enable it. The question is how long? Yes, there are replacements, then you package libxcrypt or whatever, but like hey, it was there in forever. Like, why should we now package libxcrypt and not leave it in there forever if it was some standard? And it's used by GCC, right? I mean, like, maybe first get rid of it in GCC. Maybe you will never will get rid of it. Like, why remove it in glibc if GCC is still using it? It also breaks Perl. I've not tested further, but it also at least breaks Perl, because of course it does. Who is using old-fashioned crypto header stuff? Of course, Perl does, and GCC. So basically, everything from the GNU Free Software Foundation broke each other in just a matter of weeks. Achievement unlocked. You get a golden medal of broken 486 for me for that. As trophy, here's your trophy. You can. It's broken anyway. If someone from the GNU Free Software Foundation wants to receive this trophy, I will sign it for you and ship it to you. Otherwise, I can also nail it onto the wall here. Anyway, so I'm deeply disappointed. I'm sure recurring theme, unlike others who rant around on Phoronix, like playing down amazing, outstanding Ashari Linux reverse engineers, like I give them to the end of the year. Like, who are you to demand something to end of the year? Like, hey, they reverse engineer the best outstanding reverse engineering people in the open source, reverse engineer and implement all the stuff for free, and you have the and you have nothing else to say, like talk shit about this outstanding. But sure, I get it. We get this for free, but also I am one of those. Sure, I have not written a lot of things from GCC, but on like spending half of my lifetime contributing to everything. And being so distant, like if I knew Binutils not the most amazing implementation, but also like when I see this implementation, like I want to instantly write my own assembler. I mean, sure, there is obviously LVM based assembler and stuff, but nah, it's like, nah. Sure, x86 is complex and annoying. Previous video, more main channel. For me, this means, yeah, right now it's broken, right? So what do I do now? I could, right now I can't ship it. So probably we just revert Binutils to the previous version because that's not usable. We could, okay, the other thing, everything else, we don't, we probably ffmpeg fails as well. Right, did I, actually, I built this because of course, as being professional, I clinked my source tree right before the YouTube video and then didn't have the sources anymore. Another thing, we could patch that instead of reverting Binutils, but the problem is, like if I now patch Firefox, or actually ffmpeg slip AV or whatever, AV codec or whatever the thing's name, theoretically I probably need to patch ffmpeg or GStreamer plugin ugly or whatever. So like just fixing, like now I need to spend my time fixing this shit. When I also had other things of build. How do you build Firefox? Of course with mach build. But it is deeply unsatisfying, right? For 25 years, sure, I don't need to run my own Linux distribution, but in 1998 it was the best. Maybe it's still the best. Ideally, I would want to write my microkernel or stuff. But even if you factor out that I would not need to write a Linux distribution, it would still potentially affect me, right? If I would be just a normal developer writing my commercial software and I would get the latest Binutils, like maybe it would break my assembly, right? Or the Firefox. The Firefox people develop a browser. Sure, they steal the ffmpeg crypto stuff there for libav whatever here. But it's an industry-wide thing, right? I make these videos just to, I only want to present you like how broken can stuff, basically the free software and GNU people, like how broken do you want your Binutils and GCC? And it's like, yes, more broken with every release, break it, delete. And then on other websites, and some forums, yay, they remove deprecated old stuff, like finally they remove crypto header. It's like, yeah, it's like multiply this with all the developer resources, like 2011 Linux distributions who need to adapt GCC, it's like even breaking GCC. And so the problem is also, I could spend my time in not only writing a microkernel, but I could spend my time fixing Ultraspark soft power off, or I have here Xenon Phi, which, hey, was also, because Supercomputer Center code's like, hey, don't you want to support Xenon Phi, which everyone else deleted? It's like, hey, cool. That's a cool thing. On other forums, yay, they deleted Xenon Phi. But to the other room. I don't want to walk so far now. Yeah, other news sites. Yay! Also, that's completely crazy, right? Only 10-year-old Intel state-of-the-art accelerator platform, and 10 years later, not even like if you factor in the last release of probably 2016, it's like 5 years later deleted from the Linux kernel because I don't want to maintain this code anymore. But yeah, so many cool things we could do. But we sit here all day long and fixing people's bugs, right? Which yes, I get for free. I get the source for free, sure. But I also do some Linux distribution. I did enough stuff for free. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's also all over here, right? The question is, so how do we, I mean, we could check, is there some upstream fix here for that? Also, maybe we check the comments. Should we, yeah, probably we could split the video. Maybe that's a better way to grow this channel, because if we continue, then the video is so long, how much, like 22 minutes. Yeah, leave in the comments below. So if you want me to figure out here the stuff, then tune in a minute. And otherwise, don't forget to subscribe, maybe Patreon, GitHub sponsorship, because somehow I spend here my lifetime fixing other people's stuff to build. And yeah, thanks, welcome. Hope you all are good. It's just always been like that. It's crazy. Makes me wish every system was RISC. Yeah, I mean, you could still, I mean, this bug could still affect RISC. Like if you could have theoretically negative numbers, like you could do the same on RISC, right? Shift right, or do you mean the Binutils source code? But otherwise, on RISC-V, you could also shift right with negative thing, and Binutils could theoretically complain. It's also silly. But just in terms of instruction coding or something like considering all the different platforms versions. Yeah, right. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you want to see more tinkering on this stuff, there will be a live stream following this one. Otherwise, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe, and I hope to see you soon for the next bugs and more bugs. Previous video, right? Too many bugs to come.